coming up next on Two Cops, One Donut.
I hopped in the car. I went down to the DC riots at like midnight, and I just wanted to see what was going on. And I was like, all right, let's just check it out. And sure enough, I mean, there was, DC police, but they were standing outside their cruisers with their arms folded, just watching people literally throw things into windows and break shit and set things on fire. And I was like, what is going on here? Like in my head, I was like, okay, something needs to be done. I don't know what. But knowing that I had family in law enforcement and they were under attack, I couldn't let that go. And so within 5 days, I got friends together, and I did the first march in the entire country in June of 2020. And ever since then, we've done 100 events across the country.
All right, welcome back. I am Eric Levine. This is my podcast, Two Cops, One Donut. I've been trying to change up my intro a little bit. Everybody's like, you say the same thing every time. Say the same thing every time. So here I am, changing it up a little bit. If you're watching this, we just hit our 2-year mark. It is April 30th today. We hit our 2-year mark on the 26th, and we changed the logo up. Going to be changing the YouTube format up, stuff like that. But yeah, let's get into this episode. So today I have my lovely guest with me, Melissa Robey. Did I pronounce that correctly?
You did. Thank you. Awesome. It could be Robey, whatever you want.
Robey. Okay, we can church it up. It's like my last name's Levine. We can call it Lavigne, whatever you want to call it.
I like it.
So this episode is going to be, we got a non-cop, correct? You're not a cop.
Correct.
All right. So we've got a non-cop on here for once. And she has a program that is in support of police officers. So we're going to get into all of that. We're going to talk about her background, what led her to that path. You guys know the formula for my show. It's not that complicated. It's just mainly supposed to be positive, educational, and try to help us solve some of the issues that we may not be aware of through perspective sharing. So let's jump into it. Melissa, first and foremost, what are you drinking today?
Hi there. Thank you for having me, and thanks for all you do. I am drinking coffee.
Okay. What type of coffee? That's important to cops.
Okay. It is important to them. Oh, God, yes. I hope I pass this test. I think it's like a organic something from Whole Foods. So it's not Black Rifle.
You're not drinking Black Rifle. You're not
I'm
drinking.
Not.
What is it? First Responders Coffee Company. That's another one.
I saw that one.
Then there's the
Blue Line.
Yep. There's a firefighter one that's got that bald firefighter. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. He's funny as hell. I'm trying to get him on the podcast actually. But yeah, so you should be drinking any of those. I failed
the first part. Okay,
yeah. So I mean, you're a
part
of.
On the floor. We can get started.
All righty, ma'am. First off, where are you from?
I am from Northern Virginia.
Okay.
A little town called Springfield.
Like The Simpsons. What?
It is. Very much.
Well, there's our first connection. All right. Look at that. I'm a big Simpsons fan. That's why most of my stuff is my logos and stuff. I just think the Simpsons cops were hilarious. I like the persona that they had. So you're out in Virginia. All right. Growing up, were you planning on being a cop? Like, where were you planning on your career going growing up?
Growing up, I was a little misguided. I was kind of the miscreant of the family, trying to figure life out. I ended up going to Mason, which was like a local college. And then I went to Mason Law thinking, okay, I'm going to go into being an attorney or something similar. And I went through paralegal school, did all of that stuff. And then I had my twin. And so that kind of put a damper in what I was doing for law because it's like so many hours of studying, et cetera.
Oh, man. How old are your twins?
They're 13.
13 now? Oh, perfect. Yep. That's when we're shitheads as boys. Are they boys?
Oh, you guys, you're killing. Yeah. I'm a single mom too, so that's super duper fun.
Yeah.
They are shitheads.
Yeah, I know. I was one. So I can only imagine having two of me. So, because the hormones and everything are hitting around then. So Everything's
They're going
whatever,
through the
mom, whatever.
yeah, don't talk, don't tell any jokes. You laugh at your own jokes. You're not funny. Nobody thinks you're funny. I'm like, oh, okay, ooh, proud. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Just know once they get through that, when they get about 22, 23, 24, maybe they'll start coming back around for you. So
That's like 10 years.
I know.
Oh no, that gave
Yeah,
me no hope. All right,
yeah.
got it.
Well, you got to remember when we hit 18, now we got a new sense of freedom, and
Yeah,
mom is definitely in the way of that. So, uh,
yeah,
we want to. I don't know. Some are homebodies. I was not. As soon as I turned 18, I never looked back. So,
yeah. I'm
yeah.
working on all the emotions that go along with that too, because it's like, hey guys, do you want to go? No. I'm like, hey, how about that? No. And I'm like, okay, just sit here and stare at each other and do this all
Yeah.
day long.
Yeah.
Fine.
Right. Yeah. Text when you're sitting right next to each other. Oh, geez, my kids do that.
What's for dinner?
Yeah. Like Jesus. But all right. So twins. You have twins, and you change it up. Now family. Did you have family in law enforcement? Did you have any? Because you
That's
said you were guided towards law. I mean, that's usually there's some sort of influence that pushes us that way.
for sure. So my dad was a DC cop. My grandfather was a Virginia state trooper, and my aunt was also a DC cop that moved down and became a Virginia Beach PD.
Okay. So a little side story. I actually got, I was a cop in Michigan and I hated it. I wanted to be a cop somewhere else because the pay was bad. It was a very small department. There wasn't a lot of room for any movement. And I had goals to achieve. So I had put in for a DC Capitol Police or something like that back in like 2010.
Oh wow!
And they offered me the job at like starting at like 92,000 a year. I was like, holy shit, compared to what I
Whoa!
was making in Michigan. I was making like 16 an hour in Michigan. It was crazy number. So I had a buddy stationed in Virginia, in the Air Force. So I went and stayed with him in man asses is what I call it.
Oh yeah, right down the street.
Yeah. So we went over there, and I went and checked out the cost of living and stuff. Now I got my wife. We have our oldest daughter, and then we didn't have the baby coming yet, but we had planned on having another one. So we get out there, and for a 1-bedroom apartment, it was like $1,500 a month. I was like,
Oh yeah.
holy shit. And that
Oh
was
yeah.
Manassas is really far away from where I
Yeah.
had to go, but they had the whole train thing and all that crap. I was like, well, maybe I'll do that.
Yeah.
And my wife worked at a bank at the time, was doing the numbers, and she's like, we're not doing any better by coming here. She's like, if you look at how much cost of living is versus how much you make, we're really not doing that much better. So I called them
Right.
back and said, no, it's not enough. They offered me, I think it was 100,000 or 99,000. They bumped it up.
Wow.
And she was like, she's like, we'd have to pay for daycare. We'd have to do this. We'd have to do that. And I'm like, shit. So, because I wanted to do it, but the money didn't make sense. And then,
No, it's crazy expensive here. Like a townhouse is over $3,000 a month,
oh yeah, that's
and
insane to
it's
me.
like I don't even know. And that's one of the issues, and we can get into it later. But like when you're a Virginia state trooper, you have to live like in your area,
Yeah.
and they're like, dude, you pay me like peanuts. How in the world do you expect that to happen? It's
Yeah.
insanity.
Yeah. I try to tell cops, you really have to do your homework. If you want to be in this career field, don't get so, starstruck that you're like, I'm going to wherever I can get in. Like, don't do that. Be picky. Especially if you know you've got the qualifications. If you've already got a degree or whatever, and that does give you a good edge. If you're military and you have a degree, you definitely have an edge. So I tell cops, be picky. If you've got the backing, be picky, because, I come down to Texas making that same amount of money in a place that definitely supports their cops. And the cost of living is way lower.
Which matters.
I bought my house for $143,000.
Oh my, what?
Yeah. 2,000 square feet.
I'm sorry, where is this? Let me go ahead.
Yeah.
Jesus, that's amazing.
I know. That's why I try to tell people. I'm like, just because it seems, I'm in Arlington. That's where I live.
Okay.
And that's where the stadiums are.
Yeah.
So it kind of tells you the cost of living. Now, property taxes are kind of a pain in the ass, but we fight those every year.
But you get a house for $143,000.
Right.
That's insane.
So I try to tell these guys, like, be picky. If you're going to be a cop, be somewhere where the cops are supported. Don't do, Michigan's got this bad habit now because they can't really support their cops financially. They will only hire you for like part-time work. So they don't have to give you the benefits. So you'll work like 20, 30 hours for them, but they won't hire you full-time. You got to kind of like earn your way to full-time on them. So you got guys that are working for 2 departments. Yeah. Tell me that's not screwed up. And that's common.
That's very bad.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Why are we in this mess? It's so weird.
Yeah. So be picky. Oh, that's fine. Be picky on being where you want to be a cop. So, okay. So you've got some family. You got the DC cop is your dad. That's kind of cool. Yep. Did he retire out of there?
His retirement was he was directing traffic during the inauguration for Reagan and literally got hit like by his limo.
By Reagan's limo?
Yeah, and so it like blew out his kneecap and like yeah, true story.
Holy cow!
People, I remember that. I'm like, oh, good for us.
Did Reagan like say my bad or anything? What the fuck?
What was that? Okay, keep going. We're busy and we're doing. No, I don't know. I don't know the whole story. I haven't really gone into it with him. I feel like it's just, before I got into this law enforcement realm, I didn't really understand what that was like when you get hurt on the job, what it feels like to be bedridden for a certain amount of time, what it feels like to be on medication and have to rely on that because of the pain you're in and how to deal with that. I didn't know any of that.
Yeah.
And now I look back and I go, my God, I was probably 8 at the time. I was like, why are we going to keep Semenya?
Oh my God. I got to get him on the podcast just for that story.
He's awesome.
He's that alone. Awesome. That would be funny as hell. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, he's got a sense of humor. He's got some stories from being
great.
Out back in the day. That's for sure.
Okay. Well, you've got, obviously there's some influence going. So you've got that. And where did you kind of go from there? Where did you go having the kids and then getting into your career?
Well, so this is a weird story, but so I had the kids, and years later I started working for the National School Board Association in Alexandria, Virginia. And, so there were some things that were weird that were happening there. And I was like, educationally, what they were pushing into the education system, like, break this. And I would look at it and be like, well, we should enlist the children. But anyway, so I started working for them, and then I got caught up with a friend of mine asked me to go to the Trump Hotel and volunteer for an event. And I was like, okay. She said, dress up really nice. I said, who's it for? She said, that doesn't matter. Just go volunteer. I said, okay. So I went to this event. It was the walk away, #walkaway, like, I don't know, like gala. And then they were going to do a march in DC the next day. So I met the founder of Walkaway and all of these people. And I was like, it was influencers. It was like all people from the conservative movement that were influencing and doing different stuff. It was hundreds of people. And I was like, okay. So the next day, I helped with the march, and the founder was like, don't leave, like, come work for me. And I was like, okay. So him and I actually traveled the entire country for 2 years doing town halls for LGBT, Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, telling them how to walk away from, and I don't want to get super political, but how to walk away from the Democratic Party because of all the craziness that was happening. And so,
okay, I got you. Like the Candace Owens type stuff, right?
Correct.
Okay, yeah.
And so that was really fun. That was great. And then it sort of led me into a lot of activism and doing things, helping people, and nothing nefarious like you should leave the Democratic Party because, ew, gross. No, we had reasons why. We went to the Women's March. I went there and I was trying to march with them, and they were like, oh, you're conservative, get out of here. You don't belong here. And I'm like, I'm a girl. So it was like this weird, experience of going and being at all these things and realizing how kind of crazy the trajectory of politics got.
Yeah.
And so in Virginia, there was somebody running for governor, and he was doing an event, and I kind of walked up to him and I was like, well, are you going to be like everybody else? He was like, who are you? I was like, I'm We Back Blue. And he was like, okay, well, can I call you tomorrow? And I said, yeah. And he hired me the next day. And I kind of glossed over the We Back Blue portion of my life, but from walk away, I quit that to start my organization. Um, it was very emotional for me when Captain David Dorn was killed, and they recorded him and they left him on the side of on the sidewalk. He gave 30 years to law enforcement, and I couldn't wrap my head around how something like that could happen to somebody who did so much for the profession. And I don't know, I still get chills thinking about it because it's like, I thought about my dad, I thought about how much he did, and I thought about just all these people, and all these thoughts started like going through my head. And so I hopped in the car, I went down to the DC riots at like midnight, and I just wanted to see what was going on. And I was like, all right, let's just check it out. And sure enough, I mean, there was, DC police, but they were standing outside their cruisers with their arms folded, just watching people literally throw things into windows and break shit and set things on fire. And I was like, what is going on here? Like in my head, I was like, okay, something needs to be done. I don't know what. But knowing that I had family in law enforcement and they were under attack, I couldn't let that go. And so within 5 days, I got friends together, and I did the first march in the entire country in June of 2020. And ever since then, we've done 100 events across the country. And so it's been incredible. Tom Holman came to my first march. I got to give him a shout out because he's Tom Holman, and like he stood in the back of everybody and he's like, I'm fine. We have like BLM on both sides. I'm like, sir, you don't have to. And he's like, I'm fine. I'm back here. Like I got.
So
So,
what's the Dorn story? I'm not familiar with that one.
so Captain David Dorn was during the riots in St. Louis. He was protecting his friend's pawn shop, and he was shot and killed.
Really?
And
Was he on duty?
no, he was retired.
Oh, okay.
So his friend had the pawn shop, and every time something crazy would go on, like he'd go down there, or the alarm would go off, and he'd go down there because he was, former law enforcement, whatever.
Right.
But this particular day, they shot him and they killed him.
Oh,
And
okay.
so his wife, Ann Dorn, she was actually in law enforcement in St. Louis for, I think it was 25 years, but don't quote me on that. So David Dorn being like huge inspiration for why I did what I did. I reached out to her. She actually marched with us in Kansas City for the first time. That was the first
Really?
time I met her.
Okay.
We had like the longest hug. I was like, oh my God, like that my life just came full circle. Like I did everything,
Yeah.
because of what happened to you. And she's become an activist too. She started the Captain David Dorn Foundation in Missouri, and she's incredible. We've become really, really good friends. So that's a
Okay.
really awesome.
So what specifically does We Back Blue do? What are you guys representing?
So we started out doing marches and rallies. Like we were so busy. We did them in, Napa, California, Jersey, Virginia, Florida, Texas, all over the place, just to kind of show support. And it was very sorely needed. And then people started doing the same thing, which is awesome. I'm not, knocking that. I think it's awesome that people were out there supporting law enforcement. But what I realized was when I was in Myrtle Beach, we went there to do a march, and I think it was the sergeant called me on the phone, and he goes, "Can we just not do this today?" And he was like, "Yeah, like we're just really tired. We haven't had a day off. Like and I started to realize, wow, when we do these marches and rallies, they're great, but it's also causing them to have overtime. It's causing them to have to do more stuff." And I was like, that's not going to work. No, that's
Right.
not
Defeats the purpose. Yeah.
So, I mean, although it was good because they got to see the sport like live, it
Right.
was, so I pulled back on that. I did an online mental health event just for law enforcement. I have 300 officers come from across the country called the Balance Summit, which was super duper helpful for them. They actually took a portion of it and they play it at roll call in LAPD, and or they did at the time. So we did that, and we've done, various things. We work with Virginia State Police during the holidays to collect police. Have put on softball games, Prince William County versus Fairfax County Police. We do golf tournaments. We've done stuff to just kind of get them out and get them together because I realized also that there was just such a lack of them being able to be together and have that camaraderie. When Biden was during his inauguration, when they gave them like basically cold stones in a box to eat, I realized that very quickly. And so I knew there was about 4 or 5 different platoons in one hotel. And my team went and bought all sorts of breakfast stuff. So we fed all of them breakfast in the morning with hand warmers and everything they needed. And then that night, when they came back in their riot gear and they were cold because it was raining and they didn't know what they didn't have per diem for dinner, we had this huge spread of like Maggiano's, Chick-fil-A, or whatever they wanted. And the best part was sitting there watching them have that time together, just laughing together and being together and having those moments. So I realized, okay, well, that's what we needed.
Oh yeah,
So
you want to get to a cop's heart real quick, go through his stomach. You feed us good food, that's the best. I
yeah,
worked the Republican National Convention. They asked our department to go in 2016. So I was a bike cop at the time. So we went there, and it was the same thing. You know, you're dealing with all the shit, um and I actually give all the protesters that were there, because you know you got the protesters that are protesting the Republicans, and then you got the protesters that are protesting the protesters. So both sides did pretty well, considering there's only a few idiots in the crowd that got weaned out pretty quick. But for us as police, it's just long hours, but
yeah,
nothing real bad. And it was nice to have the food makes a huge difference. It's a morale booster for us when we're out there. And you're right, it is a good time to sit there and talk shit to each other and bullshit and have a good time. And cops are always, I mean, when we get put in those situations, we're gonna make the best of it because we can't go anywhere anyway. So you might as
right,
well have fun, especially
right.
when you get pulled off the line. So yeah, it's good. And that, yeah, I guarantee the cops loved that. So
And the stories are the best.
oh yeah, yeah,
Stories, I'm like, I'd sit down with them every single day if I could and break bread. I really would.
yeah.
Um, and people do that. They bring brownies and stuff to the station, and that's great. But my focus kind of shifted to, it's always been trying to bridge the gap between community and police. Always like showcasing the positive things that they do, and getting them to a positive place. And so that was really
Yeah,
the
cops
focus.
don't brag enough. That's a big problem in our
I know
culture.
that's right.
We don't brag. We that's the job. That's what we do. It's what we signed up for. That's what you'll hear. Like, and
Yeah,
then we'll shit on each other when somebody is taking the time to brag, you know.
yeah,
And I'm like, there's ways to do it, and I think you have to do it. But you're very limited on the amount of cops that are willing to come forward and tell these stories. So, yeah, I think
yeah,
it's important to figure out who's got these good stories, and somebody has to champion the cause for them, because they're
yep,
not going to do it themselves. You
yep,
have to convince them. It's the bigger picture, and I try to tell. That's kind of what the podcast is for. I try to tell people, I'm like, this isn't necessarily story time necessarily, but it's a good way to educate. And while we're educating, we can jump into some of these little stories and brag for them without them
yeah,
coming across. You kind of set them up to tell a good story, or a bad one. I mean, we can learn from all of them. So, but yeah, you're right. It's definitely a tough thing to do. But when you get a big group of them like that, they'll start. One person gets going, and the next person's one upping them, and
oh yeah,
yeah, the bad stories, the funny stories, all that stuff. So, well, I like that. All right, so let's keep going. Let me get this popped up here. If you're listening to the podcast only, I just pulled up their website, called webackblue.com, and let's go to the home page here. So if you're just listening to this, you're going to have to jump over to the YouTube channel or the Rumble. I got it going on both, and you can see exactly what we're talking about. Or you can visit webackblue.com, and I have the website posted across the screen now. So what do we got here? People go to your website, what can they expect? Hey, Eric Levine here from Two Cops, One Donut. Would you like to accelerate your investigations? Would you like 6 months of free access to a solution that will help you solve cases faster? And stop what you're doing and listen to the end of this ad to hear about this free offer exclusively for my members of Two Cops, One Donut. We would tell you right now, but you know those people in marketing would be upset if you didn't hear a pitch. All right, who is Finder Software Solutions? Finder Software Solutions was built on the idea that crime and those committing a crime do not stay within jurisdictional boundaries. Yes, I'm talking to the cops out there, so pay attention. Finder's mission is to assist public safety agencies by developing affordable user-defined software applications that facilitate collaboration between law enforcement personnel to close more cases faster. That's really all you need to pay attention to. Close more cases faster. They've been in the business for nearly 20 years and currently support over 300 agencies sharing billions of records annually. Are you guys still listening? Of course you are, because you guys trust me. So listen to me. If you're interested in accelerating your investigations, then discover Finder for law enforcement, the ultimate solution for agencies revolutionizing information sharing and investigative lead generation. Experience a seamless integration of RMS, CAD, JMS, and numerous digital databases sitting alongside valuable resources like public records, facial recognition, criminal records, LPR data, vehicle information, booking images, and so much more in one easy-to-use investigative platform. Finder allows for efficient data sharing, unveiling investigative leads and criminal patterns, ultimately solving cases faster, enhancing interagency collaboration. Empower your department with comprehensive single-pane information system and redefine the way you solve crime today. All right, guys. Now that we've checked the boxes from the marketing team, back to the free stuff. Finder is giving away 6 or half a dozen, insert your corny donut joke here. Yes, that is 6 free 6-month trials to the first 6 agencies that reach out and say you heard about it on the Two Cops, One Donut podcast. This is a limited time offer and will only be available for first 6 agencies. So contact Finder at findersoftware.com/2cops1donut, all spelled out, or call them at Finder and let them know you heard about it on the podcast. Get signed up with Finder and start closing more cases. It's that easy.
So we are kind of coming back to full force, and I'll go into the political thing I've been doing for 2 years for the state of Virginia. But so you can join your state group, which is super important. We are going to advocate statewide. I think people just don't understand how to participate. They want to help, but they don't know how. And so we're going to spend a lot of time curating the message and helping them do that, whether that's through their school board, whether that's through their board of supervisors, whether that's through their town council, whatever that looks like for them, because we have to start getting that courage back. I think people are even like scared to put a bumper sticker on their car right now, which is insane. So on the site, we honor our heroes. You can join the state group. You can check out some of the media that we've done in the past. We were the first ever law enforcement panel at CPAC the year before last. We've done stuff, again, like all over the country, just in support of law enforcement. And so we kind of showcase that. And there's just so much information to give. It's just very robust. There's changes to be made for sure. But again, my concentration for the last 2 years was 110% on the state of Virginia.
Okay.
And I can go into that in a minute if you want. But yeah, that's just, we need support. We need people that out there that support what we're doing, because sometimes it gets hard. You know, you do a lot, and I don't want to thank you from them. Like I don't want cops to thank me when we do our golf tournament and we pay for them to come and play for the day and get snacks and eat breakfast and have dinner and get, you know, goodies, t-shirts and whatever. Like I don't want them to pay a dime. They pay enough, you know, but we need support from people that are going to actually be a part of that, because if your community is not supporting you and they're saying, I back the blue, well, your words are completely empty to me. I want you to show me how you're backing the blue, whether that's through volunteering, whether that's through joining your state group and advocating and going out there and doing something. I don't know, taking stuff to the precinct once a month, whatever that looks like for you, do it, because it's important. So those are some of our ambassadors. Rob O'Donnell, he's former 9/11 law enforcement NYPD. He's also like got his own show and he's doing all sorts of like really cool stuff. Check him out if you have a chance.
Okay.
Tim Parrish is former MPD. Kyle Reyes, he runs Law Enforcement Today. He's a good friend. Ann Dorn, as we were talking about before, that's Captain David Dorn's widow.
Okay.
Eric Rittmeyer, the Tough Marine, he talks about mental toughness. He's great when we go and do our event. Alicia Andrews, she's now in the governor's office working in public safety, which is awesome. Alexandra runs a veterans organization, and Tim runs stuff out of Maryland, which is very close to where I'm at. So he helps me out a lot when it comes to when we do like motorcycle rides and stuff like that. So,
Does Alexandra know she spells her last name wrong?
No, but I will tell her. I'm going to put that on the list right now.
Tell her. Say, Eric Levine says you spell your last name wrong.
Right.
If you're listening, we're just going down the ambassadors list for We Back the Blue. So it looks like the whole board is on here. Now, let me ask you a question. You guys are raising these funds and you go out, and are you guys, is money going to police officers for stuff, or is it just events that you guys will put on? Is it food? I'm just trying to get a handle of just exactly all the different things you guys are doing for them.
So we don't pay anyone on staff, or even myself. I have a job on top of this. But everything we get goes right back into the events that we do. It goes right back into contributing towards officers. Or I'll get a call for, I think one Christmas, an officer lost his wife and he had 5 kids and they wanted a new dishwasher. So we put money towards that.
Oh, okay.
Little things here and there that people ask us to do, we just do. We don't put it on social media. We don't.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not about that life. Like, I just want to go out and help them. I'm less of a, upfront person and more of like a behind the scenes, like helping them do different.
Have you ever heard of a program called Brotherhood for the Fallen? You might want to look into that. Maybe a nonprofit that you all can be a part of. And I've got connection. We have a chapter down here where I'm at. It started out of Chicago. The basic premise is anytime an officer falls in the line of duty, like from violence, we cut a check from our members. It's all police officers, and we'll get a check together, but we'll show up to the funeral and we'll present the check to the surviving family members and just help out in any way that we can at the funeral or afterwards, whatever it is. But all of the chapters usually show up together. So here you've got, let's say an officer falls in Virginia. Well, now you've got Texas officers, you've got Colorado officers, you got New York officers, all a part of this program. And we all, from each chapter, present a check to the family to help in whatever way they want it to go. Because
That's awesome.
you know as well as I do, like that money that they get from their insurance or whatever it is goes quick. So it's never enough. And it's a really cool nonprofit that is all police ran, police funded.
Yeah, I would love to get behind that for sure.
Yeah.
We're a nonprofit also, but under a different name, because when 2020 hit, I was like, I'm not making my nonprofit We Back Blue. It's not happening. Because there were so many people after them and trying to, I don't know, take them down or whatever that looked like for them. So we're actually the Mid-Atlantic Charity Foundation.
Okay.
Which has been around since 2017, because I originally started that nonprofit helping different charities locally. And I started something called the Breast Cancer Box. And I deliver boxes to women that are waking up from surgeries that have different supplies and stuff that they need in it. And I ship those nationwide into Canada. So.
Oh, okay.
That's a side gig.
No worries.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Well, now I am your friend on your social media as well.
Awesome.
I'm clicking on all the links. I don't do the Twitter. I probably should, but I'm not a big fan. I just don't understand it.
Twitter's super political.
I don't see the appeal. And for the stuff I put out, like it's video clips and stuff like that. I don't know. I don't do it. But here we go. Okay.
Twitter's its own animal.
Yeah.
I only go there politically. I don't go there for like personal stuff or anything really fun.
I'm like the opposite. I have zero politicalness in my body. I hate it. I don't get into it. I try to avoid it. It's you can't win either way as a cop. Like You can't,
Oh, I don't. Yeah.
you know what I mean? You
Yeah.
can't. So I just avoid politics altogether. And especially, I don't mind if my guests do it and stuff like that. You're just never going to hear me come out and say anything political because I don't like dealing with the argument.
No, and I wouldn't want you to. And so that's kind of where my next step came from. So after the walk away stuff, I was just like, I'm going to do law enforcement. And then I started realizing how much was happening nefariously through the state of Virginia, through
Yeah.
the things they were trying to pass. And, like I just wasn't going to let that happen. So I started working for the Youngkin campaign. So I was the director of law enforcement for the now Governor Youngkin, then candidate Youngkin. And I traveled the whole state with him, setting up events, setting up roundtables for law enforcement, and giving Virginians a really good scope of what things look like. What kind of things are we talking about? We're talking about the drugs, when we're talking about the crime, when we're talking, what are the stats? Because people never really know. They just know what they hear. They know what they think they know about the area.
Yeah.
So we got to really do a deep dive into that, and it was a really great experience. Until I was appointed by him as when he became governor. I was appointed to the Department of Criminal Justice Service in Richmond.
Okay.
So that kind of led me into, I don't know if you want to go there yet, but that led me into my next kind of career move.
No, yeah, absolutely. I had a question of being as heavily involved in politics, because this is me. I avoid politics like the plague. What is the tone that you hear about law enforcement at that level? Like, are you hearing, obviously the person you work for is supporting police, and
Right.
That's good and all, but what are you seeing done that actually shows that they're supporting police?
So that's a great point, which is why I quit. But anyways, I'll get to that.
So
What
it's a
they're
talking
saying,
point.
I'll say this. No, for him, it's not.
Okay.
For him, he's one of those people that was up at 11 o'clock at night on a phone call with me trying to understand what the legislation looked like. He cares. He donated his first paycheck or his first month or quarter salary to a group called the Virginia Leap, and they do Virginia Law Enforcement Assistance Program. And so that was his first paycheck. It went straight to them, which was awesome. So he's not a lip service kind of person. I think sometimes you can get lost in what's really happening when you rely on other people for the information. It's the nicest way I can put it.
Yeah.
Now, the other side is trying to take away qualified immunity. The other side has a rhetoric to uphold. They want to make sure that people understand that cops are bad, cops hurt people, cops do this, cops do that. So they have that whole agenda that they have to uphold. And you've got the other side going, no, wait a second. That's not what's really happening. And so we're more of like truth tellers when it comes to the law enforcement stuff. And you're right. They have no voice. You can't, and especially here in this state, and you're a law enforcement officer, you can't say how you feel. You
Right.
can't, because it's retaliation when we get back to work. Don't be seen at a rally. Don't go doing anything political. When the Attorney General came to Fairfax, Virginia, and, a quarter of the people showed up that I thought would, but that's because they didn't want to appear political. Even though he's the Attorney General, he's the Republican Attorney General. And so it's just, it sucks for me because I want them, and I know this is like getting on a soapbox and I don't want to, but I used to not be a super political person, but I see the value in it helping change things.
Yeah.
I see the value in changing the trajectory. Like we flipped Virginia red, which has never been done, which is amazing, right? And so I see that you guys don't want to talk about it, but that doesn't stop you from going and using your votes.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
absolutely.
that's the part that bothers me. Is like they don't even want to vote. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to. They've been kind of programmed to not even deal with it at all.
Yeah.
But we need you. We
Yeah.
need you to go to the ballot box and vote for the right person, Democrat or Republican. We just
Yeah.
need you to be there to do that, and that's hard. But so what I'm hearing is, the states, they support them. They heavily support them. The administration now does. What are they doing? It's a whole, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. And that's the most bothersome thing for me. It's like, yes, he donated his paycheck. Yes, they're trying to solve the pay compression in Virginia State Police. But you got to think of it this way. When it comes to local PDs, they don't have control. The Board of Supervisors does.
Right.
So he can't control those people. And so they can be a board of like 8 Democrats who are like, recently it happened in Fairfax. They gave themselves a 48% raise and wanted to give law enforcement a 2% raise. I was like, in your right mind? You're like,
Wow.
is this okay? Like, just go home and sleep all night, you know? But
Yeah.
like, yeah, they
That's
didn't.
why I avoid politics, because to
Yeah, no,
me, you should be paid on the same scale as the military.
yeah,
You're a government entity. Like, there's no part of that should be involved with any sort of ridiculous amount of salary. It's a public service. So for me, because I'm still a military member, I'm still in the reserves, and like, I don't make jack shit for the military, and I could have to go shoot right now. I could have to go over to the Ukraine or to China soon. Who knows?
yeah,
But
yeah,
with the amount of money that is in politics, that stuff. That's why I avoid it all, because it just drives me insane. Now, when I say I avoid it, I definitely vote. Trust me on that. I don't avoid voting at all.
right.
I vote every chance I can. Especially locally. Now, the part that I do encourage people when I do talk about politics is get involved locally. Pay attention
Yeah,
to your local leadership. Like,
yeah,
I understand it's like, beating your head against the wall when it comes to voting for a president or anything like that. I understand that. I'm not saying don't vote for a president, but if you've put your time and energy into anything, put it into your local politics, because it just has a ripple effect. And it helps at least keep your fishbowl clean where you're at.
yeah. And
So,
you know, yeah, you're kind of, law enforcement is forced into politics. They didn't ask for this, but
oh yeah,
they became political, right? I
yeah,
mean, there's the case in DC with Officer Sutton, who was chasing a suspect or pursuing a suspect, and now they want him for second-degree murder. All because it happened like 2 weeks out in 2020, the summer of love. Let's just put it that way.
yeah.
That's when it happened. And so now he's being used as an example. And it's like, well, hold on a second. Like, I thought we weren't being political, but it sucks for me, because it's like, oh, I don't want to talk about police. It's political. Or my Facebook page, I get silenced all the time, because anything that says law enforcement or police or
Mm,
anything like that, they don't post it for me.
gotcha.
Events, I can't even like post events online. It sucks.
Really? They won't even let you post the events?
Not even the golf tournament. Yeah.
Why? Is it
And they used
people
to.
like trying to like tell on it or like report it, and then you just
I
gotta kind of go through is it trolls screwing you over?
No, it's actual Facebook. So like in 2020, I was posting marches and rallies, and also, I mean, they didn't. I guess they weren't paying attention.
Yeah.
But now, I mean, I can't even post with the word police, and and anyone will see it. And no ad. Not allowed to do ads. No ad.
Wow. Huh.
Yep.
Well, that's
I'm like,
interesting.
here's my money. Take it, Facebook. Come on, assholes. Nope.
Right? Huh. I
Nothing.
don't have that issue, surprisingly.
Lucky you.
Yeah. I don't know what the deal is, but okay. So what are some of the good success stories that you guys have had so far? Like, what are some really good moments that y'all have done since you started?
Oh man, we've had so many. We've had so many good moments.
Let's say that's a good reaction. Your face looked overwhelmed with a lot of experiences, so I like that.
I have had a lot. I mean, I was telling you before we came on, I went to Chaz, and I got some, undercovers with me, and we kind of went around, and I wanted to see the Seattle police station for myself. That was a very pivotal moment for me. I was very touching, because I was like, okay, this is how we're doing. Okay, and the gloves are off. So that was interesting. I've had really touching moments with just the community and the police together. When we
Yeah.
do stuff for Toys for Tots, and people come out with their cars full of stuff just because it's the police doing the drive, that's
Right.
incredible. The games, the baseball games, where the community comes out and they cheer for them, and they, say the Pledge of Allegiance, and they sing really, really loud for them, and they cheer them on. And it's apparent that people love them and they support them. And it's just, there's a very small amount of people that are louder than everybody else, unfortunately.
Yeah. You got the
Um,
silent minority and the loud. Wait,
yeah,
did I get that right? Silent
silent majority.
majority. Yeah, silent majority and the loud minority. That's
Yeah.
okay.
Um,
Now I got a question. When you went to Chaz, that basically became its own little sovereignty there, and then they had their own police that they created. Now, did you guys support those police?
no, we did
She's like,
not.
no. Come
It was
on,
actually,
they were trying to protect their Chaz people.
oh, okay. Well, they are not very smart, and none of them are. And I hope they're listening to this because it was a joke. When I went there, it was like 90% of people on drugs. There were naked people running around. There was just, it was utter chaos, but it was
Sounds like a
also
party.
it was like a party.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like Woodstock. Why didn't you just rename it? I don't understand.
Yeah, see?
But I was so not threatened, and maybe that's just me, but I just was not, I wasn't threatened. I was like, is this for real? We
Right.
went in with code name, right? So we went in, they wanted us to not use our real names. But I
Okay.
kind of, in the first like 10 minutes, I kind of got into it with this guy because he was like, well, okay, so what we do here is like, we care for everybody and everybody cares for themselves. And like, if you see trash on the ground, like you pick it up. And if you see like somebody that needs something, you go help them. And I go, so you weren't doing this as a citizen before? So you weren't a good person, and then you open Chaz, and then all of a sudden, like, you're great.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
And he goes, who are you? I said, Melissa from Virginia. And they're like, abort, abort. And I was like, oh, God, I'm sorry. Not an undercover.
Right.
But yeah,
I would have had a cool code name. I've been like Optimus Prime.
I was Helen.
Helen. Should have been Karen.
I should have.
Yeah. I think that was
Later.
before Karen was a thing, but
Yeah.
that would have been funnier.
But it was not, it wasn't, the news really portrayed it to be this scary, awful place. And it just wasn't. It
Yeah.
just, it was,
That's par for the course on anything. They
Yeah.
ramp up all of the. We had some rioters, and protesters in the wake of, I think it was George Floyd, in my area, and if you would have seen it on the news, you would have thought that our city was being burnt to the ground or was getting close. It wasn't. It wasn't even remotely like that. And we handled up so damn quick and arrested like 50 people. And then it come to find out all 50 of the people that we arrested weren't even from our city. They were all shipped in.
Yep.
So I'm like, you guys can inflate whatever, my mom's calling like, what the hell's going on there? You guys okay? I'm like, we're fine. Like, it is.
Yeah.
Did they throw some frozen water bottles at us and rocks and crap? Sure. But
Yeah.
again, it wasn't our people. It wasn't our citizens. So for us, we're just like, you guys go to jail. Like, we don't play around in most Texas cities anyway.
Yeah.
Antifa, whatever it is, like, you get arrested here and you do big boy time if you do big boy crimes. So
We went to Portland and did an event, and Antifa came and they put bricks around the entire perimeter of the event so that 300 people there, so that when people came out, they could throw bricks at them. Oh, they didn't know that I had a motorcycle club that came and took all their bricks for the event because I knew about it ahead of time. And the people out front, I mean, they were just playing like a trumpet, smoking cigarettes and walking in circles. And I'm like, is this? Y'all have some. I know you have something better to do tonight. Like, really?
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, we at least where I'm at, our city is we're pretty smart. We have the camera system set up throughout our downtown areas, and because we have kind of a couple downtown areas, and we see them set up stuff. We go through we'll either have the fire department or our police officers, whatever. We clean up whatever stuff they try to leave out, and we spot who's doing it, and then we go round them up. And I mean, and people are like, oh, don't tell them our secret. I don't care if it, like, I want you to know, like, you're not going to get away with that shit in our city. You can go do it in another city, but you definitely aren't getting away with it where we're at, because our citizens support us.
Yeah.
And That's huge. When you have citizen support, that's why I tell cops, be picky. Look for the cities that have citizen support, that love the police officers there. Because when those cities support you, I mean, it's like, it's a fun job. I love being a cop. So, especially in this, like you're saying, since 2020 or maybe even a little earlier than that, but it's been a shitty time to be a cop. Recruiting's at an all-time low. It's hard,
Yeah.
but if you find these spots that, support a lot of the small towns support their cops too. But if you're like me, you want a police job where there's a lot of options. I get bored quick. Like 3 years and I'm like tapped out. I'm like, I need to do something different in this career field. Let me try this now.
Yeah.
So
I had a police psychologist tell me once, the problem is the job, you sign up for the excitement, but it's 10% excitement and 90% boredom. And he goes,
Yeah.
so what are we, this is when I got into like my mental health kind of stuff. And he was like, so what are we doing to kind of help them along with that other 90%?
Yeah. And when you get to these smaller cities and stuff too, like you said, we signed up for, a lot of them signed. They want to help people. They want to catch robbers and murderers and thieves and all this stuff, rapists, whatever. Well, when you work in a small city, that shit just doesn't happen.
Right.
Ever. So the best thing you got now is like, all right, what can I enforce? What can I do? All this training I got, how can I put it to use? And that usually comes down to writing tickets.
Yeah.
And that's, people are like, don't go through that town. Like, it's some small ass town. And they're like, they write everybody. I'm like, well, you gotta remember, they got all this training. That's about the only thing that they can do in their job to. Now, I don't think they necessarily have to write tickets, but I'm not a ticket guy. I think I still have my original ticket book from when I started at my department.
So it's cool that you're happy, and I think that's the key, is finding a department that has great leadership and that cares about their guys, because you can pay them all the money in the world, but as long as you're happy, like that's important. Virginia Beach PD, I have a friend who just went down there and he's like, I love my job. Like, I was miserable here. And he's like, I love being a cop again. And I was like, all right.
Yeah. It be picky. It makes a difference. But all right, so you start getting into the psychology of things. Let's flip where you're at now.
Sure.
It's your career now, right?
Yes.
Is that what we're referring to? Okay.
Yeah.
I want to see the transition.
So when I was appointed to Department of Criminal Justice Services, I was I was siloed. Most of the people that I was in the campaign with either went on their own way or they went to the administrative office to work directly with the governor. And I was assigned to criminal justice. Well, as you know, Virginia was sort of a blue state prior. And so it seemed that a lot of the people there were still in that mind frame and didn't really care about law enforcement. And I was like, well, how can we be the Department of Criminal Justice and not care? But it was true. And so it was a real big turnoff for me. And so I kind of sat down at my desk one day and I was like, you know what, I'm going to do the Office of First Responder Wellness for the whole state. Like, how hard could that be?
Yeah.
So I started doing my research and there's 2 offices of first responder wellness in the entire country. One is Ohio, which is the first one ever, which was started by a man named Carlton Moore, who is now director of BJA. And the other one is in Oklahoma, and they're doing incredible stuff. And so I sort of reached out to those guys, and then I went to the IACP, meeting in Atlanta for wellness. And I met Carlton there. We sat down for a long time. We started talking about it. And so I was like, okay, I got this. And so I started reaching out to Virginia Department of Health and all these different people and putting together all the pieces and components of this. And then I met this group called Magnus Works. And we got on a Zoom call and they started telling me about this software that they had that they could implement into law enforcement agencies that they could look at real-time data and see how their department was doing from a dashboard. And I was like, no, you can't. But yes, you can. And it's incredible. So I kind of shifted my mindset from being more political to more, okay, I'm going to help. I can help way more law enforcement agencies doing this than I can sitting in an office in Virginia for the next 3 years. So I transitioned. I went over to them and they are doing incredible work. They are very, the two men that run it are retired, basically, but they started this organization or this company because they want to help. And that makes all the difference when you're working with somebody that is genuinely has the love for law enforcement. Dr. Javidi he's the creator of National Command Staff College. So he goes around and teaches leadership all over the country to special forces and law enforcement and stuff. So he's been in this game for like over a decade. And he created this. And I fell in love with him because we were on this Zoom and I was like, oh my God, you get it. He goes, you get it. You get it. And it was just like this moment where I was like, oh, I'm coming to you. Like, I want to work for you guys. Because he understood it and he was avidly working on it. He was working with law enforcement, he was training them, going into precincts and having going to roll calls and talking to them. And it was just incredible. And so that's kind of where my mental health journey has brought me now, or our mental health journey, because I've been doing it just to help law enforcement. And this whole terror wellness, like I don't want to poo-poo on it at all, but I don't want to come into this thinking that there's already something wrong with law enforcement. When you talk about officer wellness, you're already assuming, oh, those poor cops, so we need to go help them because they're all up, I don't feel that way. I feel like there's some habit building things that we could help with, but I don't feel like they're bad people to start or they're damaged people to start or anything like that. So I want to kind of spread that as well. Like there's this whole wellness and smash the stigma and all this stuff. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. I want to come at it from a more proactive approach, more left of bang, if you will.
Yeah.
So,
that's a good reference, left of bang. I like that. There's a podcast that I've had the guys on a couple times. They're called Left of Greg podcast. And they're all about studying human behavior and how if police and military and things like that, if they focused more on the study of human behavior, they could avoid a lot of the things that they get into because they see the signs and symptoms before they ever occur. So it's really good stuff. And it's all sound science. One of the guys, Brian Marin, he's a Marine sniper, was a Marine sniper. And then Greg was a Detroit police officer. I think it was Detroit. Retired, I don't know, maybe not too far away, but he was also in the Marine Corps. That's how him and Brian had met. And obviously as a sniper, you have to learn human behavior quite a bit because you're staring at a culture of people that are totally different from your own and you don't speak the language. So when you put those things together, if he can go over there and pick up habits and see behavior that doesn't match the rest of the people, but he doesn't speak their language, that speaks volumes to me, and that helps a lot in police work. So
yeah.
Now when you're doing the wellness and stuff like that, what exactly are you guys looking for? Are you trying to just make awareness like, hey, these are things to look out for, take care of your, what are you doing? If you're law enforcement, stop and listen to me right now. If you're a police department that does not have an LPR system, Insight is offering the first 10 agencies, that means one agency apiece, gets one camera for free. You have to tell them that Two Cops, One Donut sent you. You heard me right. If you're a police agency that does not have an LPR system yet, or does have an LPR system, and you're not happy with the product you have, Insight is offering you a free camera, no strings attached, and they will install it. I have 10 to give out. Tell them Two Cops, One Donut sent you, or reach out to me and I will get you in contact. If you're a business owner or an HOA, please stop and listen to me right now. If you're just listening to the audio, do yourself a favor and watch the YouTube version of this episode to get a visual of what I'm about to tell you. I want to tell you guys about Insight LPR. It's a license plate reader. If your agency, community, or business is looking to invest in LPR to help solve and deter crime or to make your community safer, Insight LPR has my vote of confidence. I've met with their team. They know their LPRs, guys. They're the real deal. They bring over 75 years of collective experience to building LPR cameras and the software that supports communities across the country. The other thing I really like about this team is how much they listen to law enforcement. They understand the importance of working together with law enforcement and getting their input as they build and innovate products and their service to match the needs of law enforcement. In other words, when I complain or have suggestions to make their damn camera better, they actually do it. The Insight LPR team is extremely passionate and takes pride in their product development, which makes their cameras some of the most durable cameras in the market. For the gear nerds out there, what that means is this stuff's made of military grade aluminum and is nitrogen purged, whatever that means. This design makes the cameras rugged and able to withstand harsh weather elements. Here's the big selling point for me. Their nighttime scan accuracy is higher than most of the leading competitors. In my opinion, this is what sets them apart. As we know, the majority of crimes occur at night, so it's critical to have high scan accuracy at night. Insight's cameras check the box with the nighttime plate read accuracy greater than 96%. 96%, guys. That's pretty freaking high. If your community is looking to invest in LPR technology, reach out to one of their experts today or reach out to me. Tell them 2 Cops, 1 Donut sent you.
No, I won't speak for him, but I know I'm pretty sure Dr. Javidi believes in habit forming. And
Okay.
so we believe through the power of repetition, there is a chance for rebuilding your habits when it comes to things like they talk about. Have you ever heard of the hand brain model?
No.
So if you turn your, this looks like your brain, and if
Okay.
you open it up,
I'm
like,
looking at my hand.
I know this is like your
Yeah.
hypothalamus, and these are like all of your code reds, and literally flipping your lid because you're
Okay.
not utilizing all of this. It's a whole science. But anyways, I could go into that.
Science, it's
Uh,
boring, but it's part of my
It's
life.
a lot of science, but we
Yeah.
believe that, that whole flipping of the lid, if you can control when you're in a high stress situation and you don't flip your lid and you hold it together, you've already won. You've already
Yeah.
developed a new habit of not feeling that anxiety. And then, you know, talk about the ripple effect that leads into your heart disease and your alcoholism and your all these crazy
Yeah.
things. And so he believes that, through the power of repetition, using our software, basically we pulse the officers. So we send them something a couple times a week. We say, how are you doing? How are you sleeping? Simple questions, don't care about much. It's
Yeah.
anonymous completely in my chief, and we wouldn't know who said it. But what we're doing is we're sending that information into a cloud. We're separating your information from, their demographics and sending it into the cloud and looking at a dashboard and going, okay, look at all of this information we have now. What do they need? Behavioral training? Do they need more recognition? Do they need, and it actually tells you all of that, which has
Okay.
never been done.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of content in there that you can look at. So when I pulse you and I say, hey, you have 2 minutes to watch a video on breathing. Sure, who doesn't have 2 minutes? So 9 times out of 10, they'll click on it and you'll watch this little video and you're like, oh, well, that is helpful. Maybe I'll use that in the future. And so it's those little, things that we plant going, that helps change that.
Yeah. So I used to be an academy instructor. Did that for about 3 years. Great time. Love doing it. The thing that I like to focus on the most is in the training that I got to become the instructor was our look at health and nutrition.
Yeah.
Is like the way I started looking at it. It's the roots for law enforcement while they're out there, because when you become a new cop, the first thing you get stuck on is midnights. Now you're not seeing the sun. So there's a whole biology thing that occurs when your body, when you're sleeping at an odd time. We're not designed to work midnights. Like
Right.
That's just not how we are. So then you get into that, and then you go into the food that you're eating. Typically the only thing that's open is fast food. If you're not packing your own lunch. So we start getting into the dynamics of that. How your cortisol levels go up, and cortisol starts to block your oxytocin. Well, if your oxytocin starts to get blocked, then you start becoming despondent to people, and you lose that that connection with people. And we're not designed that way. We're designed to actually have a connection with people, and especially in law enforcement, you want to have that. So the cynicism goes up, the stress level goes up. Heart disease risk factors all go up and all that stuff. And it all starts with you eating correctly, trying to exercise when you can, and getting out in the sun when you can. It's
Yeah.
like these little small things. So it's cool. That app that thing that you're talking about, my wife and I actually have an app. It's like a couples app. And it kind of sounds like it does the same thing, except it's for, just keeping a strong, healthy relationship type thing. So
Yeah.
she's a nurse, and she's working midnights right now. So that's kind of like our connection to each other when,
Yeah.
because when she can talk, I may not be able to talk at the time, or I'm sleeping.
Oh,
And then when she can't talk or she's sleeping, then I can. So it's just one of those things. But yeah, I could see a definite benefit to that. And a lot of
well,
cops right now are doing wellness, like part of the insurance is like they're doing these wellness, like I don't know what you call it, like check
yeah.
all over, and
Yeah.
they're answering like these 1,000 question long survey online just so they can get their insurance costs down. I'm like, that is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Sounds like this app would be an easier fix.
Well, and it can prove things. And so there's a lot of apps out there. There are. When I went to IACP in Anaheim, I spoke at IACP recently. They did a wellness thing out there, and there was all these apps, and I'm like, okay, well, what's your user rate? Well, like a 2%, and it's like, what's the point? What's the point of putting something in front of them they're not going to use?
Right.
What's the point in pushing something that they're not able to benefit from?
Right.
And because you benefit from it, well, then bye. Like
Yeah.
I'm very passionate. And so it's very, I take it personal when I see people doing things off the backs of law enforcement because it's cool or because it's, wellness is the topic right now. It's annoying. I think
Yeah.
I want something that's actually tangibly going to help them. And I know this does because we have obviously clients all over the country.
Yeah.
And this whole wellness thing has gotten this huge push. But
Yep.
to have that, you have all these people that run in and go, I know what to do. And it's like, but you don't.
Yeah.
And you get all this information and you don't know who to listen to. There's no checklist. Nuts right now.
Yeah. If you want to get people to use that app, my suggestion to you from my experience is find academy instructors and get them to buy in on it. And that's one, because they can tell recruits, and then they can start building those habits right from, go. And then the other one would be direct line supervisor, your sergeants, basically. If you can get sergeants to buy in on it and see the benefit, then they can tell their teams, the ones that they supervise, like, hey, I got this app, I want y'all to jump on it. And those are the two buy-ins. I wouldn't try to sell Chiefs. I wouldn't try to sell anybody in Ivory Towers because
or a hard sell.
well, it's not just that they're a hard sell. It's that really, to us on the bottom, I don't give a shit what they think.
Yeah.
I'm be honest. I really don't.
Yeah.
And they'll take an idea that just seems good. Like, all right, that's good. Yeah, it'll be good for the troops. Send it out. Cool. And it just kind of dies. You need somebody to champion the cause. Somebody that I'm not saying the Chiefs don't care. They do care, but they're disconnected. They are not a part of the ground level. That's why we call them the Ivory Tower. So you get the buy-in from the ones from the bottom. It's a bottom up kind of growth that I would look for something like that. And that's kind of how I do it with the podcast. I just try to get officers to like it, if they're into podcasts and stuff like that. And that's how I let my reputation kind of spread. And then, there's companies that I like First Two is a great company that I use as a detective all the time. They're not that popular yet, but they've grown just from word of mouth on the bottom. So you get these companies to spread that way. And from what you guys have, and I'll look into it after we get offline here. And it sounds awesome.
It's
and
incredible.
I've already got experience with another app that kind of does something similar for relationships. So that would be good.
Well, that's, you hit the nail on the head. When I went to ISTP, I was like, okay, there's a lot of command staff here. There's chiefs here. So are we relying on them to get the information of all this wellness to the boots on the ground? Because how are y'all doing that? Because I don't think you are. I don't think that's happening.
Mm-mm.
So let me ask you this. I'm going to turn the table and ask you a question. If somebody were to have something, I don't know, like a conference or whatever. I know my Balance Summit online was really popular for officers. What can we do to relay that information to boots on the ground?
So You need somebody that's going to champion your cause and that has a voice in the department, which isn't easy to find. Um, like me, I went to the IACP for my department and through the National Real Time Crime Center Association, which I'm a part of. I'm a board member for that. But you got to find somebody in a department. I would pick, one of the top 20 departments as far as size, and find somebody mid-level. You want to find a mid-level person. You don't want a chief. You don't want a commander. You don't want a captain. You don't want any brass. Honestly, I wouldn't pick any brass, and I don't care if brass is listening. Like, I wouldn't pick you. I would pick the person that you supervise, the sergeants. Some departments are really big, so maybe a lieutenant, which is brass, is kind of like a sergeant in a bigger facility. But those are the people I would pick because they're going to do all the research. They're going to know the ins and outs of all of that. You think a chief's going to take the time? They don't have the time.
Right.
You think a captain's going to have they don't have the time. None of these people have the time to put into your product that you're going to need to get them to buy in. They're going to say, at face value, it looks good. Cool. All right, let's roll with that. You guys go look into this, and then it just kind of fizzles out. Because I guarantee you've reached out to some departments about this product before, and they're like, yep, sounds great. And then you keep hitting them up, and then it just kind of fades. Why?
Yeah.
Because you didn't have anybody to champion it.
Right.
And the only people that are going to champion it is going to be officers, corporals, detectives, sergeants. That's it. Yeah. So you got to find somebody in those positions. And a lot of good departments will send, the chiefs go to the ICP, yes, but they're sending a sergeant, that go-getter sergeant. They're sending the people that they know are going to have their best interests and find the good things and then push it. So that's how you do that.
Aside from this product alone, though, I went to the first responder conference in Ocean City a couple weeks ago, and then I have another conference coming up next week in Baltimore, et cetera. I don't see any boots on the ground at these conferences. Like, I guess what I'm asking is, how do we relay either wellness or just general stuff? Like, what are cops going to besides police week?
Right. And this is the hard part. Maybe when you're talking to these chiefs, ask them, say, who would be somebody at your department, and tell them you're looking for a mid. And you, honestly, I would just tell them exactly what I told you. Chief, I understand y'all are busy, and you may look at this and say, oh, it's a good product or whatever, and you're going to kind of run with it. But what I would like is some sort of contact at a lower level, a mid-level, that has the time that I can, and try to network yourself through that.
Yeah.
LinkedIn, obviously I'm on LinkedIn. That's how we got in contact with each other, but look that way too. That's where I'd put my feelers out, because your go-getter guys are on there and they're active and they are lower range. They're in that mid-level range that you're looking for, and even lower. If you can find an officer that really seems like they're gonna, like I said, I like the term champion the cause, because any good cause needs somebody to champion it.
Yeah.
And what often happens with what you guys are doing and other companies do and stuff like that is they are trying to get a chief to champion a cause when they got too many irons in the fire anyway.
No, I agree with that. With that.
And unless you have some groundbreaking product that is going to change the criminal justice system, like DNA testing did, like license plate readers are doing currently, like, prior to that, fingerprinting, let's go way back, like those changed law enforcement, to this day. So unless your product is that, and I'm not saying it's not, but more often than not, it's a good thing. It helps, but it isn't going to be a game changer like that. So if you don't have that, the chiefs just don't put the energy into it.
So aside from the product itself, from a We Back Blue standpoint, if we wanted to do something for the boots on the ground, whether that be like a big event or event by department, do you have any suggestions for our organization?
Yes. So like, look for, in the larger departments, if they've got neighborhood patrol officers, they're the liaisons. So some call them community patrol officers, things like that. But those who I would hit up, I would hit those guys up, because they're the liaison between the community and the beat officers. So you hit those guys up. Hey, this is what we're looking to do. they know the right people to talk to. Other people, the PIOs, those are also good ones to go after, because if the PIO sees a photo op, they're going to be all about it. And they are a direct link to the chief or whoever who's going to be able to say, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
Groups like that the police departments have that are nonprofits that they're a big part of, like Brotherhood for the Fallen. We throw a golf tournament every year with Brotherhood for the Fallen, and that could be something that y'all could collaborate on and help do. So I will, when we get done with this, I'll get you in contact with Paul Zani from where I'm at, and at least get your foot in the door with the Brotherhood for the Fallen. So you got that. What would be the other one? So MPOs, PIOs, FOPs, POAs. Any association, their unions, definitely hit them up to find out who's the president of those, or the board member for them. And that would be another good one, because they're always looking for help and for things to do for the cops.
Yeah.
So,
but I think 9 times out of 10, they don't really go to events. Cops don't really go to stuff.
They do if you offer free guns and alcohol. If you say there's raffles, if there's raffles for guns and raffles for,
hilarious.
Not just being honest.
All right, I'm in.
Maybe you guys should make me an ambassador. I can get you guys.
You're in.
whip you into shape real quick. I know how to get cops together.
Yeah.
Golf tournaments are great.
Yeah.
Cops love golf tournaments, especially if they know that, they're going to play scramble style. They're going to have teams, and the money's going towards a good cause, and there's going to be prizes. It's just, they need time. And another thing is this is where I'd get with the associations, the FOPs and stuff, is make sure that there's no events going on coming up within real close.
Oh, yeah.
Because then they got to prioritize. There's going to be the annual golf tournament that they've always been a part of, and then you guys may have a golf tournament the next week, and they're like, I can only devote my time to this one.
No, it's true. It's true. There's a lot of them around here, at least. I just did mine, and then there's one like 3 weeks later, and then there's a running for sheriff, and he's got hit, and I'm like, okay, and again, this falls back into doing all the rallies. It's like, I don't want to cause more work for people. I want to take that burden off of them and get them together. So. Yeah.
And exactly. And like, if you time it with a association, a union association event, that's the perfect time.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have the cops there, you're going to have the community there, and it's already like, when it's an association thing, cops have to show up.
Yeah, right.
Not all of them, but probably more than an unplanned, something that they didn't see coming, and now they got to work it as well. So I got a ton of ideas.
I love it.
To help you all out. So
yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I just, I took some time off, obviously, for the Youngkin campaign, and then when I was in Richmond, and so I'm trying to, get it back to where it was before I started, because I felt like it was important to concentrate on this state, and it worked. We did it. Yeah. So there's that.
So what is the future looking like for We Back Blue?
I really want to.
Don't huff.
Well, it's a lot. It's a lot. So I've actually had officers reach out that are going through their legal stuff. But there's a lot of organizations that are already helping with that. And so, and I'm going to be really honest with you, I try to weed out the organizations that are actually doing stuff, or the ones that are actually just taking donations and saying, donate. And I'm like, well, what do you do? Yeah. What do you do? A perfect example, there's all these wives, all these cops' wives, and, who's helping them with how this job works, or the mental stuff that you go through when and maybe a retreat for all of them so that they can learn these things.
I am so glad you brought that up, because I've had, they're called Married to the Badge.
All right.
That's exactly what they do. Carrie Ann Astry, she's the one that started. I've had her on the podcast, I think two times now.
Love it.
But that's why she started. She's married to a cop. Now this is where it kind of gets tragic. Her husband, who is Air Force like me, but is also a cop like me. I had done a podcast with her because she was doing the Married to the Badge idea, where you got people that have been married to cops for years, like my wife, and then you've got these girlfriends that they're just really impressed. They're married to somebody in uniform, and they think they're about that life until they see what that life's really like.
Right.
So
Right.
so she's taken both ends of the spectrum here, and she's trying to do like this educational thing, like, hey, this is what you can expect. These are the things to do. That person that's been married to a cop for 17 years, now you're dealing with this aspect of the career field. So they deal with all that. It's pretty cool.
Well, that's so important.
Yeah.
I love that.
But I got her, and I was like, well, let me do a podcast with your husband, because him and I have a lot in common.
Right.
And he was killed right before our podcast could even get off the
What?
It was killed. His vehicle, he got in an accident on his way home from work. So he's still in his uniform and still in his cruiser. And I'm not sure I don't know the specifics. I don't think I ever asked, but so I know another organization that, and I am blanking on off the top of my head. This is going to bug me. But this other organization, their whole feature is to go meet with the surviving family member and help them through the paperwork and what to expect and what they need, the questions they need to know and to ask. So I got a hold of our chapter here in Texas to reach out to her, and they helped her through the whole process while she was dealing with that. Damn it. What is the name of that? Oh, that's going to bug me. Let me see if it's cop something. Of course it's cop something. Let me see.
I don't pretend to know what it's like to be a cop's wife. I'm a cop's daughter. I'm a cop's sister. I'm a cop's cousin. I'm a cop's granddaughter. I don't know what it's like to be the wife, but I can tell you, I watch these women on TikTok and they're like, waiting for my husband again. Or like, I'm like, how is that helpful?
Right.
Like, how are you helping them besides just making fun of them? Like that. I don't know about all that. Like, I just don't feel like that's helpful. You're just gaining an audience by trying to be funny and clown your husband. Not a fan.
Yeah.
Unpopular opinions.
Oh, I was right. It is called COPS. It's Concerns of Police Survivors. Concerns of Police Survivors. That's what it is. Oh, she would have kicked my ass if I didn't remember the name of them. So I had
hilarious.
To say, oh my God. I'm gonna show. You're not gonna believe this.
Look, what is it? I can't.
It's Carrie Ann. She just texted me.
No kidding.
What the fuck?
Oh, I love it.
I'm gonna say, are your ears ringing?
Right. Love it.
That is so creepy.
I can't wait to reach out to her because I have been on this sort of mission to find a wives group that's, really helping them and doing the work. And I just, I want to help them because I just feel like for their sake and for the officer's sake, for the most part, I mean, they go home, they could have just been holding a dead baby or seen the most gruesome scene in the world. They come home and the wife's like, where have you been? And I've been with the kids all day. And I'm like, okay, take a step back, let them breathe for a minute. And let's, that might be the root of some of your problems.
I just told her, I said, I have a nonprofit reaching out to you. So
cool.
she'll know to expect your contact. But yeah. So well, all right. Is there anything that we haven't discussed that you're like, oh, I need to talk about this?
No. I mean, we were saying the future We Back Blue. I am only going to grow and get stronger. Obviously, state groups. Obviously, keeping on doing events just for officers, online mental health events and stuff like that. And whoever I can collaborate with to help and make your life easier, I'm going to do it.
All right.
On a mission over here. So
I like it. Well, I tell you what I typically do. If I get permission from y'all, on our webpage, not that my webpage gets a ton of traffic by any means, but I have a sponsors and charities page.
Oh,
and
cool.
I will add y'all to that sponsors and charities page.
Thank you.
So when people come to my webpage, they know that I directly support or approve of these people. I got Tunnel for Towers, 10-9 Outdoors, which takes surviving family members out hunting trips and stuff like that. 100%, like all the ones that I support, 100% of the profits go to 100% of the cause.
Okay.
So if you're ever looking to collaborate and network, just go to my page and you'll see.
I love it.
I vet these people and make sure that they do exactly what they say they're going to do.
Yeah, and that's important. And if there's anybody I can connect you with, I would love to. You know, I've met a lot of people in my journey.
Yeah. I honestly, I don't even look for guests anymore. I just get networked.
Awesome.
Like I'm to that point now where either people are reaching out, hey, I'd like to get on, I want to talk about this. I'm like, all right, cool, let's go. Like,
yeah,
I don't really discriminate. It just needs to meet the criteria of what the show is. I don't want people coming on here and talking about their real estate business. Real estate agents are a nightmare. They hit me up so much.
What?
It's unbelievable.
Why?
I'm like, how?
Why?
Because they think they're going to be able to either one, put their ads on, like, because that's how the show survives. It's off sponsorships. Like,
okay.
Because I did this all on my own. This is a cop trying to make this happen. And I spent about 20 grand of my own money in the course of it. Yeah.
Holy.
In the course of a year. I have my master's and I want to go for my doctorate. This is kind of an expansion of that. So when I go for my doctorate, this is going to be what my research is based on, is bridging the gap using social media in a different way other than cops petting puppies on, social media and, dancing and
taking pictures in flower bed.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. That's a part of it. I think that's a good way to help bridge the gap to humanize cops, but there's more to it. And I don't think we're ever going to break down any barriers if we don't have the tough conversations or we don't educate. The example I always show is how many people know what a SWAT officer is. A lot of people will raise their hand. Oh, I know what SWAT is. Okay. Have you ever talked to a SWAT officer? No. Do you know what it takes to become one? No. Okay, cool. Well, let's do that. I want you to hear what this guy did to get up to that point. I want him to explain what the training's like. And then I want him to talk about what's good about it, what's bad about it. What are the myths we see in the movie? And,
Yeah.
And now somebody from the community can watch that and say, well, I did hear this one SWAT guy. I kind of have an idea, at least from where he was at. And they can say whether he's full of shit or not, because it's going to be a 2-3 hour podcast and they'll get to judge for themselves. We just don't have that out there. And cops aren't allowed, like you said, to have a voice. But the one thing they are allowed to do is they're allowed to educate and talk about the duties of the job. So I humanize, I do that. I avoid telling who their department is.
Yeah.
I edit out all the things that would get them in trouble. And, if I have to edit it out, and then they're able to tell a story and then I'll get them, because I am a cop. So I'm able to all right, tell me what kind of cool calls have you been on? And then we can go down that route. And I know, they know that I know ahead of time, like the stuff that they may tell in the story, but they're not allowed to share. So I'll edit that out for them. And now you get to hear a badass story, with some of the stuff that they weren't. It works. It's a good formula. And then to flip it, I got people on the other side. I got a guy that was wrongly convicted of murder. I got another guy that was incorrectly charged and did 26 years out of a 52-year sentence for a crime he didn't commit. He did commit a crime. I want people to be clear about that. He did do an aggravated assault, but he was being charged improperly, and that got reversed finally. A DA saw it and was like, "Oh my God, yeah, you're right. This is wrong. You did wrong, but we're gonna make this part right." The guy, so he aggravated assaulted. He shot some guy with a shotgun that killed his cousin. So it's kind of like a retaliation thing. Heat of passion type thing. And he, the guy that killed his cousin got out in 12 years. He did 26 years and didn't kill him. So the guy he shot ended up advocating for his release.
It's crazy.
Tell me that's not nuts.
That's crazy.
That's the ones I have that pinned on my website because that is my absolute favorite podcast I've done. And
wow.
I did that shit over a year ago. So that's my favorite one.
Well, I can't top that. I'm not even drinking the right coffee, but I can tell you when you talk about the SWAT, I am going to encourage people in my state groups to go through their Citizens Police Academy. I don't want to
Yeah.
brag, but I'm kind of a graduate over here.
All right.
But you do get to go through the different positions and see what they do and get a better feel for it. And I think people just don't cops have so many jobs, many jobs at once. They can specialize in 3 or 4 things at one time. It's insane.
Yeah.
And they wear so many hats.
We're the jack of all, the master of none. And,
yeah, amen.
And the public wants us to be a master of all these things, but they don't want to pay.
Right.
And they expect you to do a lot of this training in your own time. And, I'm like, you gotta figure out what you want. A citizen's got to figure out what they want. It's kind of part of the tough conversation. Like, do you want me to be a master? Do you want me to be a black belt in jiu-jitsu? Because I think all cops need to have grappling.
Agreed.
But who's going to pay for it?
Yeah.
Because now I'm taking personal time away. This ain't like the military where you sign the dotted line and they own your ass, and it doesn't matter if they tell you got to go train at 8:00 at night, then you go train. But you signed up for it and you're getting paid.
Yeah.
The difference on the police side is we go home every night. We go visit our families, we're with our families, and then we got to go back out to the job. So there are so many hats we have to wear. There's a lot of mandatory training, 40-hour classes and stuff like that. It's hard to prioritize what to do when citizens themselves don't know what they want you to do.
Right. What they don't understand, and that's the education portion. Actually, here locally, I'm trying to get the local PD to build, in Lee County, Florida, they have a trailer that has a simulation in it, which is unreal. And I've
like a
been
Milo
through it.
system or something.
Yes, I've been through it. I died, by the way, way too trusting. Way too trusting. Like, he had the shotgun. He's like, I'm not going to shoot you. And I'm like, good, because put it down. He's like, you're good. So I've been through it, and a couple of times, and I was just amazed that the quick decision making you have to do, and it's mind boggling. It's like, whoa, you guys are just so talented. But anyway, I was trying to get that instituted here in my county so that we can take that around to different, city events.
We've got it where I'm at. Every time you get people that go through and you can see the light bulbs going off as we go. And, we let ours actually go through scenarios where, it's like a shoot, no shoot scenario and stuff like that. And we break down our use of force, tell them like what's allowed, when it's allowed, what we based our decisions off of and things like that. And it's really that is the thing. It's the education. You know what? You just given me an idea. Maybe I should just put on a version of the Citizens Academy without the scenarios on my podcast.
There you go.
That would be a good episode.
So fun.
Right.
You guys have a traveling Milo system? Is that what you have?
Ours is not. Ours is fixed.
Okay.
You go into ours and it is, I think it's 270 so you walk up onto a platform. Our guns are all, I can't remember what the word is, but we got the CO2 cartridges in them. They function just like a real gun. They're not attached to anything, so it's got the weight of a real pistol and all that.
Wow.
You can spray pepper spray. You shoot your taser. You can use every weapon system. I come from one of the 12 largest departments in the nation, so it's definitely got some money for some of this stuff. So
you guys are fancy.
Yeah, we have a whole indoor village. Like you go in, it's got a bank, it's got a school, it's got all this stuff inside.
What?
Yeah.
All right, I need to make a road trip. Trip.
Yeah, for sure. We'll get that set up offline. So
I love it.
Well, ma'am, I appreciate your time. We're about an hour and a half in. That's a good episode. I think people are going to be well educated. And just one last time, I got the website up here, webackblue.com. Make sure you guys visit that. There's a donation thing I saw on the page. I did bring the webpage up, so if you're just listening to the podcast, make sure you jump over to the YouTube channel. Check that out for the Two Cops, One Donut channel. And anything else?
That's it. Thank you for all you do. And thank everybody listening for all you do. And know that there's people out there that are constantly championing for you and loving you guys and try to do good by you.
Love it.